What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 6, Episode 7, Peace Before the Stormy. So it starts off with Kimmy and Maurice. They are at their new office building, which is still under construction. It seems like every single thing on this show is still under construction. Scott's Manor is under construction. Kimmy and Maurice's new building is under construction. Letitia now has a new building that is under construction. Like nothing is complete. Anyways, so Kimmy and Maurice are meeting up, and Kimmy decides to tell Maurice about her yawny steam experience with Letitia. So she tells her husband that she had told the spa lady to add all kinds of herbs and seasonings in the yawny steam so that, it could help increase her libido. And you would think that Maurice would have reacted a certain kind of way, like he would have been happy or proud that his wife was taking the initiative to help her libido, because he's been whining about that for quite a while now. But he was completely underwhelmed and unimpressed. And so he tells her, whatever you need to help your libido, the good Lord has already blessed you with it naturally. So you don't need all of the hocus pocus spices and seasonings or whatever else that they got going on at the spa. So then she tells him about Letitia and how before you took the yoni steam, you had to not be pregnant. You can't be pregnant and do the yoni steam. And so because Letitia had been feeling under the weather lately, she decided to go ahead and take a pregnancy test before she did the steam. So Maurice is going to act like he's shocked and surprised that Letitia would even think that she could possibly be pregnant because Marceau had had a vasectomy. So y'all, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because I think it was all just made up for the show. It was just all for the camera. Letitia does not think she's pregnant, so let's just move on. Stormy. So Stormy meets up with Letitia at Letitia's office site, her new office site, where, like I said before, it is under construction. So Stormy wants to bring Letitia and Kiki back together again. Stormy, don't even waste your time. The issue between Kiki and Letitia is so much deeper than the issue between Kiki and Tiffany. So I guess Stormy is giving herself a pat on the back for helping Kiki and Tiffany reconcile. But number one, right after that, Tiffany left the show, so who cares? Number two, whatever issues Tiffany and Kiki had do not run as deep or as long as the issues between Kiki and her cousin Letitia. Kiki and Letitia, they have some very deep-rooted issues that are based on jealousy, envy, and not having any trust in one another. It's just too complicated and it's too complex, and it can't be solved in 10 minutes on a reality TV show. So Stormy wants Letitia to show Kiki some type of grace because she's in recovery. And Letitia's like, I don't think she's in recovery. I think that she's still using. Letitia says, I haven't seen her use, but I think she's still using. And Stormy thinks that it's kind of foul that Letitia would assume her cousin was still using without any concrete proof. So they talk about Letitia's trip to Las Vegas. She had a girls trip to Las Vegas, I think around the same time that Marceau had a boys trip to Colombia for a bachelor party. And Stormy tells Letitia, oh, Colombia, that's like the brothel and prostitution capital of the world. I never heard of Colombia being like that, but whatever. I don't know where Stormy got that from. So Letitia was like, oh, I didn't know that. And so Letitia quickly changes the subject. So she's asking Stormy, so how's Courtney doing? And Stormy said that, Courtney, he's a very serious guy and he don't play those kind of games that your husband likes to play. So I don't know, whatever. So Stormy suggests that they should have a double date. And Tisha is like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. They talk about Letitia's website, and Stormy asks if Letitia's going to apologize to her for stealing information from the Canvas website and using it for her own website. And Letitia's like, apologize for what? It's not like I did it. It wasn't me that did it. It was the guy that I hired who did it. And so Stormy was like, but you are the face of your company. So anything that happens, you as the owner, you're responsible for that. And so Tisha still didn't feel like she had to apologize for anything. Stormy said that this is a really bad look for you. And Tisha was like, no, it's not. It wasn't a bad look because I made a lot of money off of that website. So it wasn't a bad look for me. Okay, so then finally, Letitia does end up apologizing to Stormy because Stormy would not let it go. So Letitia did end up apologizing. Moving on to Chris and Nell. So Chris went to Nell's place of business and he wanted to talk to his wife about their son, little Chris, because Chris had a meeting with his son and his son basically expressed to him that he's struggling. He's struggling mentally right now because he feels like the whole family's against him. Sometimes, he's not able to sleep. He's suffering from insomnia. And so what he'll do is he'll just get in his car and just drive aimlessly around in the middle of the night. So Chris is suspecting that, his son may be depressed because he's exhibiting some symptoms of depression. And he told his son that, hey, I'm here for you. If you need me, I don't care what time of day or night. I don't care what I'm doing. I will drop everything and I'll help you and I'll come to you. Just let me know. Just make the call. So he goes to tell his wife, our son is really going through it. And Nell, she wasn't even trying to listen in the beginning. She was like, that boy owes me money and he don't want to do nothing and he's wasting his life away and he's a real a-hole. So she's going on and on and on, belittling her son, criticizing her son. And Chris knows how his wife is, because I feel like I would have been like, can you just shut up for a minute? I've got something to tell you about our kid. But he knows how his wife reacts, and that if he would have raised his voice or interrupted her, it would have been on and popping. So he lets her vent about their son. And so then he finally tells her, look, I had a conversation with him. He's really struggling right now. He feels like the whole family's against him. Like, we feel like he's not good enough. We're always pestering him about one thing or another, blah, 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 blah. So then Nell takes it seriously. And she's like, well, you know what? I'm not going to bother him anymore about the money that he owes me. And I'll be there for him. And if he needs counseling, blah, 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 I'll support him. Whatever we decide to do, I'm there for our son. Wonderful. Great. I'm glad that she was able to see that and that she was willing to kind of change her ways and tone it down just a little bit for the sake of their son. Moving on to Kimmy. So Kimmy, she has a pedicure appointment with Mel and Letitia. And so who was the first person? It was Letitia showed up first. And they talk about the whole Yanni steam thing. And Letitia said that the Yanni thing really helped her because her and Marceau, they've been getting down each and every night. And Kimmy was like, well, me and Maurice were like in the same dead end spot. It hasn't really helped me any at all. So maybe Kimmy, maybe you're losing interest in your husband. Maybe you're seeing him for what he is and it's just not turning you on anymore. And maybe that's really what it is. Maybe it's your interest in your man. Moving on. So then Kimmy asked her if she had told Marceau about her taking a pregnancy test. And Tisha just kind of brushes it off like, no, I didn't tell him. There's no need to tell him. It's no big deal. I don't know why I thought I was even pregnant. I was just feeling under the weather and no big deal. Let's move on. Okay, yes, exactly. Because you didn't think you were pregnant to begin with. This is some nonsense that maybe Carlos King or one of y'all concocted for a storyline and y'all think it's entertaining and cute, but it's stupid and silly. So Mel then arrives, right? And so Mel says she really doesn't need a pedicure because, her feet are always up to par, but, she'll play along with the other girls. So Kimmy jumps right into it. As soon as Mel sat down, Kimmy was like, oh, I saw online that you had this name changing ceremony. Was it like a public invitation for everybody? And Mel was like, no, it was a private little ceremony only for a very select few. And so Kimmy wanted to know, well, why wasn't I invited? I thought me and you were friends. And, Letitia was just eating all this up because in her confessional she was like, Letitia and Mel are really, really close because Kimmy and Mel are really, really close because Mel had done this party for Kimmy going into for her cancer going away or whatever. So they're really close. If Mel was willing to do that for Kimmy, they're really close. So why didn't Melody invite Kimmy to her name changing ceremony? So Melody explains that if she had invited Kimmy, she would have had to invite Maurice, and then she would have had to invite Marceau and Letitia. And she was like, I didn't want any negativity at my name changing ceremony. I didn't want any toxic energy or whatever. I didn't want people bringing up Martell. So this was just for my very close friends and family. So it wasn't necessarily a slight against Kimmy. It was a slight against the group as a collective, because if you invite one, you have to invite the rest. You have to invite the others. Otherwise, you're going to be, people are going to be attacking you from all different sides. So I understood what she meant. I didn't see anything wrong with her not inviting Kimmy. I understood exactly what she, because if she would have invited everybody else, because if Kimmy came, then Maurice would have to come. And even if the other Scots didn't come, just the fact that Maurice was there, there would have been some mess, because I can just imagine Maurice asking Melody, so what about Martell? You didn't invite Martell? Is Martell here? And that's the one thing that Melody did not want to have to hear, even though Nell did bring up Martell. So they talked about that, and then Kimmy brought up that Mel, she told Mel, well, because you changed your last name, how do you feel about the fact that you and your kids now have different last names? Because in the Black community, it's like a stigma that mothers don't have the same last names as their children, because these kids are being born out of wedlock, and Black women are, the least to get married, et cetera, et cetera. So you're kind of like perpetuating the stigma, and the stigma of whatever, Black women not getting married, children being born out of wedlock. And so Melody didn't give a damn about none of that. Melody was like, look, my kids know the what's up. They know what me and their dad have been through. They know, they understand, they get it. So yeah, I don't need to have the same last name as my children. My children will forever be Holtz. I don't have to be a Holt, and it's not affecting my children at all. And it's not affecting my relationship with my children. And I could care less what other people thought. So they move on from there. Now, my personal opinion about that, you know what, y'all? I feel like Melody changed her last name, I think, because she really, really wanted to stick it to Martell. And maybe that's not even true. Maybe Melody could care less about Martell, but I have a feeling, because it wasn't just changing her last name. It was having a whole entire ceremony, putting 20 on 10 on her changing her name back to her maiden name, her reading a court order in front of all these people. Like she was doing the most with that ceremony. So I felt like she was really trying to stick it to Martell, that I don't need you. I don't want you. It is over. This will never, there will never be any type of an attempt of reconciliation whatsoever, because I'm getting rid of your name and everything about you. So I think she did the most with the ceremony. If you want to change your name, change your name. But the ceremony thing was just a little bit too much. But, I don't know. I don't think I myself personally would want to have a different last name for my children. I just wouldn't. And it's not about no stigma or stereotype or anything like that. I would just want to be, that connected to my kids. I would want us just to have the same last name, but that's neither here nor there. So, then they talk about Mel and Tisha, they talk about the whole town hall meeting, because, Mel had felt some type of way. She told Kimmy that she had felt some type of way at the town hall meeting, that when she voiced her opinion about how the Black Expo went, Letitia had a lot to say about that. She was very critical, and she just kind of dismissed whatever Melody had to say. But when everybody else was giving their thoughts, Tisha was quiet. But as soon as Mel spoke up, Tisha had something to say. So Tisha brought that up, and she told Melody, I didn't have a problem with what you said. I don't have any kind of ill will towards you. I didn't feel any kind of way, and I don't want you to take it like that. Well, Melody was kind of like, okay, you may be saying that, but it is what it is. As soon as I talked about it, you had something to say, but everybody else had something to say, and you didn't say anything. Those are just the facts of it, but whatever. So then they said that they're good, they're fine, okay, they're not hating each other right now, everything is copacetic. So then Kimmy was like, well, if it's so copacetic, have y'all unblocked each other on social media? Well, both of them say that they're not able to unblock each other because they have blocked so many people that they can't go through the thousands and thousands and thousands of names that they've blocked to get to each other's name to be able to unblock. I think that's what they meant. I don't post on any social media other than YouTube, so I don't know how that works, the whole blocking and unblocking. So I'm gonna just take them for their word that they're not able to unblock each other. But then Melody says we don't need to do that, because in real life, because we are still living in the real world. Social media is just, a figment of our imagination. In the real world, me and Tisha are cool. So we don't have to unblock each other on social media, because it's just not that crucial. Moving on to Stormy and Courtney. So, so this is the double date that finally took place, because Stormy had invited Letitia to a double date, and so they're all going to play pool. So Stormy and Courtney, they're already at the pool hall or wherever the hell they were at, and the Scotts end up being an hour and a half late. So already Stormy is on 10. Okay. The fact that the Scotts kept her waiting like that, and the Scotts probably kept her waiting like that on purpose, because I can see Marceau being that petty. And of course, Letitia does whatever her husband wants. She goes along with the plan. So I can definitely see them acting like, you know what, we're going to go out to eat. We're going to take a stroll in the park. We're going to catch a movie, and then we'll show up at the damn pool hall, just to piss them off, just to get them riled up on purpose. So after her meeting with Letitia, Stormy says that she's not really sure exactly how she feels with Letitia, because she thinks that Letitia is just playing games with her. So Marceau says that he could feel tension between them. Well, you are an hour and a half late. Yeah, there is tension. Courtney says he doesn't have any problems with Marceau. He says he's really cool with Marceau. And so then Courtney brings up the whole name thing. He says, I don't have a problem with you, but you're being disrespectful when you called me by my wife's last name. Now, side note, I don't really see an issue with, and I know that Marceau did it on purpose, and I know that he did it because he wanted to emasculate Courtney. I get that. But in all fairness, what is wrong with someone mistaking you or calling you by your wife's last name? Like, why is that such a bad thing? Why is that seen as being negative? That someone would think that you had your wife's last name. Why does that seem like, oh, that's just so, you don't mistake me for being a steal. I'm not a steal. Like, why? I don't get it. You love your wife. People think, I don't know if they're really married or not. I don't know, but people think y'all are married, and everybody knows her name because obviously, she's a bigger character on the show than he is. So they're just going to assume that, and I'm not defending Marceau, because I know Marceau, he was on some BS when he did that. But I'm just saying, if somebody did mistake him for being a steal, what would be so bad about that? But I know where Marceau was coming from. He just wanted to, emasculate Courtney and make him feel some kind of way. And that's why he called him by Stormy's last name. But anyway, moving on. So Courtney was like, that my name is Beasley. It's not Steele. And you did that on purpose. So Marceau says that Courtney has selective outrage. So he says, you got selective outrage because you have a problem with me calling you by your wife's last name, but you had no problem with your wife calling me a bitch. The multiple times that she called me a bitch, you have no problem with that. And so then Stormy tells him, you didn't have a problem with me calling you a bitch either, because you called yourself the biggest bitch. So don't come up here acting like you had a problem with me calling you that. And so Stormy further says that it was a bitch move when Marceau wanted to get back at her through Courtney by calling him Mr. Steele. So she says, if you had a problem with me, you should have handled it with me, or you could have gone to him and told him to check me, but you didn't have to insult him by calling him Steele. So Marceau says, you know what, I'm just going to ignore that comment or whatever he said. And so Stormy was like, no, don't ignore me. That's why your wife got that drink thrown in her face. So now Letitia now has woken up, because this whole entire time she's been acting really bored, acting like she really didn't want to be there. This was just a big waste of her time. So when Stormy said, well, that's why your wife got that drink thrown in her face, now Letitia was awake, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. And so then she turns to Stormy and she says to Stormy, why did I get that drink thrown in my face? And Stormy said, because you were ignoring Kiki. Your husband's talking about ignoring me. You ignored Kiki. That's what y'all do. And you got that drink thrown in your face. So then Letitia was like, there is never a reason why somebody should throw a drink in somebody's face. And so Stormy was like, I'm not justifying what the girl did, but that's the reason why she did it. So in her confessional, Letitia says, Stormy is being really shady right now. She's being very shady and rude to justify Kiki throwing a drink at me. She must have a problem with me. So, girl, you're talking about Stormy being shady and rude. What about the fact that you and your husband arrived an hour and a half late? So when you do that, the people that invited you are already pissed. Okay, you're lucky that they were still there when you showed up. So that's what's rude and shady, that y'all did this. Y'all arrived an hour and a half late, and y'all did this on purpose. And you getting that drink thrown in your face, it don't got nothing to do with Stormy. So Marceau says, I understand. No, he says, he tells Stormy, you told me in your culture that the word bitch is used quite frequently. And then Stormy had that look on her face, huh? In my culture. She didn't say that, but the look on her face when he said, you told me in your culture. Y'all use the word bitch quite frequently. And then Stormy was like, so she expeditiously got her drink, put up her pool stick, and left. And then Tisha was like, I can't believe she just left and she's the one that invited us over here. Y'all are rude as hell. Y'all are rude. So that's the thing that we cannot stand. Well, I can only speak for myself. I cannot stand about the Scotts, that they will do this shady stuff and never own up to it and never take account. Y'all were an hour and a half late, so the whole evening was already spoiled, because it seems like, I don't know, but it seems like there was no call, there was no explanation, there was no apology. They just strolled in. Hey, no, I'm sorry, we were late, the kids, or traffic, or our car broke down, nothing. They just strolled in there like, well, we here because we got to be here, but we really don't want to be here. And it's so obvious that y'all didn't want to be there. But I'm just kind of shocked that, well, like I said, they were late. So Stormy, or whatever progress that she had made with the Scotts went completely out the window when they showed up over an hour late. Now, I don't like talking about next week's episode until it actually shows, because the little teasers or previews that they give you at the end of the episode, it will make you think that something happened. And then when you watch the actual episode, it didn't go like that at all. But I just got to say this. The part where they showed Marceau and Letitia having a conversation about her damn pregnancy test. And Marceau says, well, my first thought would not have been the vasectomy didn't work. My first thought would have been, I need a blood test. Are we really going to do this? Are we really going to give this stupid pregnancy scare any more attention? Letitia did not think she was pregnant. That did not happen. So why are we giving this more energy? And of course, the first thing that would pop up, if Letitia could possibly have been pregnant, okay, of course Marceau would think that his vasectomy didn't work. Ain't no way in hell Marceau's gonna think that Letitia cheated on him, because the way that Letitia has stood by this man's side through all the BS that he has put her through, the humiliation that he has put her through, everybody knows that big blubbery back was Marceau's. Okay. And she's got so many people believing that it might not be him and we don't really know, and because she is in denial. Everybody knows that big blubbery back in that hotel room was Marceau's. Okay. So the fact that he has manipulated and brainwashed his wife, and she will do anything. She will do anything for this man, because in her world, you ain't nothing unless you got a man in your life. You ain't nothing unless, you're somebody's wife. So there's no way that Letitia would consider cheating on. It's just stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid to begin with, because she never was pregnant, never thought she was pregnant. And even if we want to give it the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe she really did think she was pregnant, nobody believes that Letitia would cheat on Marceau. And the last person to believe that is Marceau himself, because he thinks he's God's gift to the world. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel. I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.